Marc had seen a lady coming out of New York City with some with a puppet frog or a frog in her hand, and he must have thought that was, you know, a little bit bizarre, and promoted him to write a song about it. But it was kind of the lyric isn't quite so deep. It's a fun track. It probably means more to Marc than it does anyone else.
Well, in many ways he did capture the lunacy of New York in that song.
It did show that the real man was still in there, that the capability of writing those hits was still there.
New York City is a change again. I think he's sort of trying to reassess his look, and he's trying to reassess the way his music goes, and I think he's beginning to, you know, move, and he's realised that things need to change, and I think it's very important that he does, and I think things were going to change then.
Was he really just wasting his energy focusing on this American market? And in the end, he came to that conclusion that yes, he was. At that time, he had actually been spending quite a lot of time living in America. He was living as a tax exile out there, and he was heavily drinking, he was indulging in cocaine, and it got to the point where the doctors said to him, "You've got to stop this binge drinking. If you don't, you're going to die." And I think that coupled with the fact that after splitting up with June Child, his first wife, he had had this relationship with backing vocalist Gloria Jones, and suddenly found out that she was pregnant, and that was the thing, totally turned it on its head. He quit the binge drinking, he quit the drugs, he slimmed down massively, and he was ready to reinvent himself.
Is the right time to get acquainted with my head.
Futuristic Dragon it's sort of it's a strange fare because it looks like an early Tyrannosaurus Rex album. Its whole presence is of it harking back to something, so maybe in a way he was harking back to a time before, and yet on the album the delivery was completely of the now and not of the then, and so it was a bit of an odd album.
That was getting cool again now, you see. The old Periscope was coming up again now. Bit of sight.
You're so right.
Still a T-Rex album, but I think they still hadn't things hadn't moved on enough.
It doesn't do anything remarkable. It lends itself to look like it's one thing and ends up being something else. Bit of a lost event, really.
I saw him on the 1976 Futuristic Dragon tour, and of course by that time he'd been through his low periods as well as his high periods, and I think the one thing which by then he really did appreciate was the die-hard fans who'd sort of stuck with him through thick and thin, and he thanked us all for coming, you know, and for sticking with him. And I've got my own recording of the 1976 concert, which was at Birmingham Town Hall, and in it he thanks us for going and seeing him and not the Bay City Rollers.
London Boys, for me, not a great record, okay, but not fantastic. Maybe just like a great, I don't know, football or tennis player, he'd peaked, and to get back, it was quite hard to get back.
London Boys was all right, you know, it was all right, it was all right.
London Boys, again, I think underlines, you know, that lostness, that harking back. Because London Boys harks back to a time he's singing about Petticoat Lane and going to Brighton and coming back. You know, it's about, I suppose it's about him. You know, the East End boy and the whole, you know, London thing. Again, it's a bit sort of soulful. He's looking back to a different time.
Oh yeah, we're the London boys. Don't you remember that we're just the London boys? Oh yeah, we're the London boys. Don't you remember that we're just the London boys?
In the recording studio, Marc was very keen to just whack it down. Let's do it, boom, boom, boom. You know, not too much messing around. I wholeheartedly endorse that. There's too much, you know, pissing around trying to get the drum sound. You know, no one's going to know anyway. Either hit the thing right or go home.
Whatever I played on, my job was to say to Marc or anybody, play us a song, or have you got a part? No, well, play us it, and get a pencil and paper and scribble the Norwegians out, chord, Norwegian Ford chord. And he'd play it, and he'd say, yeah, that's it. He'd then go in the control box and probably sit behind the desk playing the guitar, or got Miller Anderson to do one guitar, Dino Dines doing organ, Tony Newman drums, and 20 minutes later, guaranteed, the song was finished. You have to work quick. I think that's the other great charm that T-Rex's music had. It was done quick. I mean, how can a band take 6 months? Where do they get the money from to pay for studios for 6 months? And at the end of every track, Marc used to say, hole in one. Bless him.
Marc played me the demo of I Love to Boogie, you know. He said, it's going to be really good when it's finished. I said, it is finished. It was perfect. I love to boogie on a Saturday night.
We love to boogie. We love to boogie. Jitterbug boogie. High school boogie. We love to boogie on a Saturday night.
It was quite a sad, pathetic little song compared to all the rest.
I Love to Boogie, great record, back on form. Surprised it didn't go straight to #1. It was really,